In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, in honor of the original moment that all reality, the original being that all reality has manifested from, in honor of the existential system that is designed for a specific display of what is a historic performance for beings that are existing to themselves anew. Dear viewers, today I want to speak about something that is not a normal lecture. It is not a lecture where I'm trying to explain anything or have to, in some sense, hold on to, in some sense, in some sense, am somewhat aware of sometimes the views on topics, the frontier views of certain topics. And I speak with a collective archetypal responsibility. I've been doing that from the beginning. I don't know, just the way I somehow just knew how to give the talks. It started that way. But today's talk is very different. I haven't given a talk like this, but it is a very strange time, and I don't know why, especially for someone like me who, in some sense, I believe that truth is unconditional, and the conditions of reality are designed to keep you in them. I received a vision in a sense that it's very, I'm going to explain to you everything. I'm going to explain to you my mind like you were there behind my eyes, okay? So my inner realms, first of all, the way I classify reality, sorry, just a second. In front of my eyes, I consider it's the outer realms. It's a physical world. We're all in one physical external server, existential server. Behind my eyes, I'm in a private internal server. In that private internal space, as we all do, and in this whole time have not been acknowledging, because everybody's been thinking that we've accepted the word mind without understanding what is truly going on. You have accepted the concepts without looking at the concepts, and the world rages to remind. The vision, okay, guys, I don't know how to explain it. People are different, okay? I have a twin brother. In my youth, my twin brother could see auras. He had a different sort of engagement reality. But for me, even before I became conscious of my inner realms clearly, right? I am someone who I enter moments and the knowing is there, and I don't know if it's because deep down I don't believe myself to be an idea. I don't believe myself to be a position in a verb. Okay? So, but anyways, I don't know how to explain this to you aside from how certain moments of life I know what to do, not because I have knowledge beforehand, because I am noticing what the moment is doing. Right? So they arise. So in my inner realms, suddenly I know. I don't know how I know, and there's even image that accompanies the knowing. Okay, and it's not an egotistical knowing, because there is no I know behind my eyes. I am force behind my eyes. You think that we are physical entities here, but that is the engagement of the game of the position we're in right now. Do you know? So in my inner realms, I am someone who suddenly knows. You might not believe it. These talks, okay, they started from me going and sitting on a bench, pressing the record button on my iPhone 3 with my fake Apple headphones and with their kind of low quality microphone, kind of having a free cup of tea from the accommodation I was staying out at, and with nothing, go and sit on a bench. And in some sense, I remember I just pressed the record button, and rhythms. There are rhythms behind our eyes. We are living just sequentially, as in some sense, like, how do I say it? We're living like, we're not living rhythmically, but that's the true nature of the species. And when you go look at history, people spoke in verse, and they did not just speak in verse, they lived in verse, meaning they lived as if their life was a poetry of the world. Okay, there's a reason the poet Rumi says, don't just read poetry, be poetry, be the living reality. Do not just embody the idea, be it, right? And I'm trying to explain to you that on some level, in my awareness to my instantaneous being, the knowing is in the space. Now, what was the vision? That what was this instantaneous knowing? Not even the visuals of it were very different, but emotionally very clear. So I'm telling you that I received something equivalent to an instantaneous knowing, but not from the me that is the ideological me, but from that which has been watching this reality this whole time from behind my eyes. The I got a vision that there is something coming towards Earth called the assembly, and that the assembly will arrive. I'm a sci-fi writer. I know when the mind forges compared to when the idea arrives. Okay? And I have never, with a straight face been like, yo guys, there's aliens here. Do you know what I mean? Right? I consider higher positions, especially after magic and the view that, what we think is interdimensional beings is the jinn kind. Do you know? I don't know how to explain it to you. Weird stuff is happening in the world right now. Next level political chess moves are being made. I do not know the value system of reality, and I do not know where this turbulence will leave off, the natures of the world. But I know that it is in the cards for the human species to, in some sense, unite. It is the only thing that hasn't been done. Let me tell you what I mean. You have succeeded individually, or excuse me, you have failed as an individual, you have succeeded as an individual. Now we have failed as a collective. What is awaiting us is the success of the collective. All of you. There is collective feelings. You don't know it yet. Do you know? But these are presents. So let today be one of those days that you heard one of the most bizarre things from someone who hasn't spoken about this in this way at all ever. Okay? But I feel that in some sense, the value of our planet is not just a value to us, in the same sense that if I put a tree in a forest, its fruits have a value to man. Its branches have a value for birds that create nests. Do you know? It has a value in regards to, like, I don't know, oxygenating the environment. Do you know? So one moment, one instance of reality can have values to multiple contexts. And that's the realization of this modern humanity of ours. That we think that concepts have one fixed context. Now, I don't want to get into religion, but religion is far superior in the sense that religion is saying truth is not. The context cannot be known. Therefore, to be a human being in a theological reality, you're working with a higher power. There's nothing more important. Do you know? That means, to me, religious people are those beings those humans, among all the humans, those humans that in some sense have been tasked with establishing a relationship with a being that is beyond being itself. And I have shifted to this. In 2023, I am someone who, you'll see that when I talk about an advanced civilization, I had a dream. Guys, let me finish the vision and then I'll go into other stuff. The vision was that I feel something's going to happen on this planet, okay? And I usually see probabilities, but this is weird. This is like one of those behind the scene knowing things. Okay, and I don't know how I know this, but I know that human consciousness is getting prepared by the volatility of its political structures on the planet for interference. Do you understand? That means when two people fight, I remember this in school. I remember there was a time where I have a twin brother, right? And my twin brother was fighting this kid in our class named Milad. These two fat kids run to me and they're like, yo, your brother's in a fight. I run there and I see these two going at it. I grab both of their shirts and I separate them. Do you understand? In a way where they can't reach each other because I'm like a wooden plank between them. Do you know what I mean? And I remember that interference is necessary when too much unnatural is being behaved. Do you know? There's too much unnatural. Like, how do I explain it to you? Do you know? Like a person being hungry, hunting an animal, and one animal to like suffice their hunger. Okay, there's like a sort of bearability there. We can bear that. But a human being killing endless animals and refrigerating, for example. I'm not vegetarian, but I'm telling you, like, we got to look at our species. We got to look at the energy the species is expressing. More than you need to go to some self-help guru to teach you, like, yo, bro, think in positive thoughts. It's like anytime, it's like they don't make you understand duality. They keep switching you from the sides. Have you noticed from the beginning of your life in this dualistic world, you're either a good person or a bad person. You're either a smart person or a stupid person. You're either a powerful person or a weak person. It is the world. It is not us. Do you understand? It is the context, the dualistic context of the physical external reality. Do you understand? So the code, the way external reality has been coded is dualistic. Understand this and you will understand anything. The moment too much chaos, order appears. Whoa. The moment too much order, chaos appears. Whoa. Why? Aren't human beings seeking balance? This is the hilarious, I think, paradox of reality. We are all conditioned to survive in balanced ways. Oh my God, man, I just want to get through this. Not realizing that without the turbulence, there is no progression. We are reaching a point where I am telling you, the stuff on this planet might get more intense. And I said this years ago that we're moving into an era where the archetypes of the old generations have been looping. The foolish shadow elites. I don't play that game. I don't believe in. I believe there's higher powers than physical powers. So any evil physical entity, no offense, there are you have bigger chaotic brothers in the invisible. Do you understand? Sorry guys, my attention just came to the chat section for a moment. Somebody says I'm diagnosed. Oh my God. I'm gonna just read it silently. Oh, it's not serious. Okay. Guys, let me tell you, you are responsible for maintaining a coherent self across your lifetime. It's hard if you identify with your emotions because your emotions animate different personality. It is easy if you stabilize into a recognition that just like a person needs an anchor, we are designed as beings to be anchored in the physical reality. You understand? I am telling you, you're in a world where it's massive storytelling operation because these beings didn't know what to do with the unknown. So they nonified it. Okay, they made it known. When they made it known, they accepted too soon from a process that they could not fully see. Guys, I'm going to go back to the assembly. I don't know what this is. Okay, I told you I had a dream. I don't mean like a vision. Like when I say I have a dream, I had an actual dream. This was 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I had a dream that I was 80 years old. Okay, I don't know. I was old. Do you know, I was this old version of me. I was wearing some sort of militaristic uniform with medals on it, and in the thing, I felt I was the last of like human, like of that specific race. You don't understand. I have in my inner realms confronted variations, probability, different ways that reality functions. Okay, what does that mean? That means your body and your existence is giving access to one way of reality. This whole time, they've been making you think that reality is true and that imagination is false, right? But you can perceive reality as imagination that you did not imagine. It doesn't mean it's real. It could mean that the imagination of others could be the reality of others. Do you know? And guys, somebody mentioned, you know, when it comes to mental illnesses, your trauma fragments you. The task of love and joy and faith and truth and all of this is to unify you. Okay? And it doesn't mean that, like, if you were in a Shinto Japanese dude back in the day, you wouldn't believe in multiple personalities. You would believe that there's a highway of souls passing through every material moment. Do you know? But I don't believe in any of that stuff. I'm telling you, you're not in a world that you're in control of. You're in control of what sort of meaning you can extract from it. You understand what I'm telling you? You are responsible for generating the meaning out of the meaning you find. Now, as someone who, like, it's all there in front of you, all the talks are there. The species, I don't care, like, even if people have mental illnesses right now. I mean, I do care if it's biological. If you have a biological mental illness, that means there's something off chemically with you, and that's why you behave, unstable, right? Because it's a language, guys. Do you know? Like, I think people, I've met some people who I have multiple identities, and I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they can pull off being multiple people, right? I mean, I guess it could be a part of themselves is lying, or they're choosing not to see something because of a fear of it. A person can have fear of truth. Maybe that once they were being true and somebody punished them for that. You don't know. You don't know what people go through, but it is. I do have this view that, when God, in theologically, man is made from, this term called clay. Okay, right? Which means that clay can be molded, and what you see is adaptation. To me, adaptation of entities, of existential beings, is legit like clay being molded. Do you know? But the issue is, what programs really influence our life? Now, guys, I'm unfortunately, I fell back into a habit of making this like the previous lectures. But I don't want to do that. I just want to tell you, I have this weird feeling that there's going to happen some interdimensional stuff soon called the assembly. I don't know, the arrival of the assembly. I don't know what that means, whether it's an interdimensional allegiance or whatever it is, right? But I feel that the human species, it is inevitable. It is cast, or it has been commanded in a position of existence to watch this. I never thought of it this way, but when I did, I started to enjoy my life a little bit more. I was like, yo, man, if life, it's like, if you don't like what you see, right? Oh, man, that's tough. But if you think that, yo, man, what if I am an actor? I don't know how many people feel this way, right? But I feel more, like existence is acting in the presence of something that is original. I feel that intelligence in this world is a response or a reaction or something. It's an engagement with a higher power. The moment I realize, wait a minute, you're telling me we have room temperature, then we have lowest temperatures, highest temperatures, Everything has lower, higher, increase, decrease, except the dimensions. Excuse me. Do you know? They have managed to see, higher order processes and lower order processes. Do you know they have not been able to fathom that these higher order processes are beyond whatever high we think we see. You see, I think life activates when you discover that you are here to attend something. Okay? You're here to be part of something. If you are existing right now, something intends this. Okay? And I know, everybody on the planet, sure, act like the world is yours. You can. But I am telling you, there will come a day where you will realize you did not create yourself. You did not create this world, and your free will is only your one side of the coin way of looking at reality, and what is going on behind the scenes surpasses human psyche. It surpasses human psychology. What does that mean? That means, yes, we are humans. That is a correct statement. But we are not in a world of only humans. There is so many different kingdoms, and we don't honor these kingdoms. Do you know? Like, if there was a kingdom of humanity, it must honor the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, the mineral kingdom. Where are the real kings of the soul? Like the awakened souls, Where are the roars of the original ones? The original beings, those in the middle of infinite simulations. Suddenly, it's not even faith. It's like the clouds parted, one beam through one crack, one glimpse, one nanosecond, one moment. They notice what they believe is not them. That what they are in the presence of is. What are we reaching for? Why are we here? And what's even more trippier than that, why am I saying this to you? Why are you hearing this? You know how people have dreams? You look at this person and the guy's working hard. What do you want to be? The person's like, I want to be a gold medalist, in the Olympics. It's like, wow, you're such an advanced human being. It's like, oh my God, this human being ran the furthest than all of us. Do you know? But let me tell you the real game. That they have not even allowed intellectual sportsmanship. They have not allowed intellectual sports. You don't understand. The forms that you accept contain you. They own you. Just because it's an idea your ancestors believed, that means imagine you woke up in a world and there were these aliens, okay, that would go on the heads of people and they would stop being themselves. Now instead, there may come a day where you will see that alien, okay, on the top of people's heads is not some weird like octopus looking thing. It's language. It's language. The way you have organized yourself is your enslavement. Rise, mankind, rise. In the same way, Dylan Thomas looked at his father on his deathbed and he said, rage. Don't go gentle into that good night. Rage. Rage against the dying of the light. Whatever truth that is within you, in the hour where reality trembles, that's where your real presence arrives. When your soul lands in the moment before your body has even stepped into it, where you know before you need to be. When a species no longer fears anything because it fears only that which is beyond it all. It is not the word religion. Culture has possessed you. You don't understand. Culture, there's a scene in Lord of the Rings, okay, in the second movie. Do you know? I don't know, what was it called? The Riders of Rohan or something, Like Rohan in that scene where, what was his name, man? I love this show. That King Theoden. Theoden King. Theoden King is there. Aragorn and Gandalf and his whole crew, like Gandalf and his entourage, go and visit this king, right? Do you know? And behind the king has become this old kind of possessed guy, and behind him, in his ear, there's like some wretched figure named Grima. Do you know? A person that legit is the devil. Legit is the metaphor of the devil. You see that archetype animating multiple times in that show. Okay? Grima whispers in the ears of Theoden King. Of King Theoden. Gandalf looks at that shit and looks at Grima freaking whispering in this king's ears, and Gandalf is like, back off, pretty much just like Gandalf awakens the true nature. Gandalf goes to Theoden King, and with force or not, because his heart is deciding, he awakens a king from the slumber of the deception of those beside him who wanted something they did not understand. Any time in life, in any situation, when you don't get anything, something you wanted, I am telling you, do not get upset. You just discovered where you're at. I feel that the hand of God is in some sense moving the curtain. The human species needs to develop new archetypes. Oh, younger generations, new generations, anyone who cares. Okay? If we are a civilization, if everybody on the planet has identified and been conditioned and raised in thinking that we're all living in one story, and the moment that story changes, we all panic and get scared, that is proof that your brain has been washed in incredible ways. Do you understand? Because I am telling you, what may come across, like, how people say love yourself? Do you know? And there was a time I was like, man, why don't I feel like this love people have for themselves? How are people loving themselves? When the self is not only unknown, it may not be the real you. And yes, I am bold enough to tell you that you might not be the real you right now. Why am I saying this? Because the advanced you is waiting. There is an advanced moment, just like, how do I say it? Just like how piano, there's octaves. I am telling you, right now, a more advanced version of me is happening. Do you understand? And beyond that, a way more advanced field is happening. And that whole field is a command of a being that we can never fathom. Because it is not being conditionally. Which means the multiverse has an owner beyond it, a singular owner beyond it. Right now, you don't understand, guys. I had a surreal experience yesterday. And this vision arising to me is such a weird time that's why I feel like, okay, there's something off today. There's like I'm receiving a signal I don't normally receive. Okay? Dear viewers, your fears are conditional. Okay? There is an unknown fear as well. I am not speaking to you like some strong, expert, like that knows everything and can pilot you through it. I thought I was that guy. I realize I cannot be. Why? Because I do not see the pilot I had to see the pilot that all of you had to be. I had to realize that fame is not worth it if those who are paying attention to you are not advancing. It is not worth it to pause progress for the sake of emotion. I don't care. I don't care how emotional a species will see, because unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, maybe it's fortunate, I have a designer's soul. I don't know how many of you can just exist as shape without meaning. I really don't know. I think most people are it's gonna be off to them. Because for me, my programming was different. I did not like myself. I did not trust myself when I was young. I was just alive in my inner realms. In the outer realms, I was some mechanical, good boy archetype of like, yeah, I'll agree to anything that's not my own mind, and not realizing it was mercy. What I felt was a prison in my youth, being trapped behind myself. It was mercy. Years later, like 20 years later, I was like, what the F? I thought I had I was damaged and I had some messed up childhood. No, the system admin was like, it is not your time now. That's what it was. You see, I believe there's a conversation every soul at some point will have with itself, where it's gonna be like, okay, I understand what this YouTuber is saying. Okay, he's saying, yeah, everybody's raised in a part of the world, culture is the behavioral language of that part of the world, and it's unconscious, right? And sure, like there's all these different kinds of human beings with different software installed on them, different cultural programs engineered for their minds to accept, different norms and all that stuff, right? But on some level, I am making that argument. In the unknown, they gave it a name. They named me in the void. That's the issue. That's why I can't be a subject. In the unknown, I became known. Excuse me, what about the rest of the unknown? What about everything that I don't know, rather than my whole life being an identity based on what I know? Wonder about your unknown life. How dare they trap us in known language for years? The true kings of humanity, kings and queens of humanity. Do you know who they are? They are those that the world, let me tell you what this world is like and how, I'll give you an example. Imagine every person being born not a child. They're just some random being. Okay? What's happening is souls are arriving here, and then the moment consciousness to existence is there, the simulation is already talking to you. You think you're living. No, existence itself is the communication of the higher order. That means you think you're in a place. No, you're in a conversation. Which means reality is not bound to known nouns. Notice the unknown verbs. Notice the moments that are uncharted. It's everywhere. And so, the king, those kings, I don't know how to explain it, guys, but this world has lost its royalty because it zoomed in, because that's the power of this anti-human moderator that's here. People think it's a game. You think when you see an evil person, you think it's a person. You don't understand. If you go and read like ancient, what was the term? Vedic texts, you're gonna see that there were beings, demigods, okay, which I call them mods. Okay, they're the mods of this existentially simulated system we're all in. The Kali, the deity Kali, in Vedic thought, was manifest anytime the people gambled or had greed. That means the moment somebody behaved greedy, they legit changed the radio channel of their life to that being's field. The whole point of Islam, most people just see it visibly. You don't know. This is a book that is sent not just for humans, but to the soul. It is a direct communication to your soul. These holy books are not meant to be played with the mind too much. You are called forth, and therefore the highest spiritual enlightenment is the realization that we are all at the mercy of the host of this world event. The host is not formed. Therefore, no formed attempt can be it's like you cannot make what's outside of the box equal to inside the box. And the moment you do, you have confused your soul. And I am not saying Christians are confused souls, or Hindus are confused souls, because I know that you are not just your mind. You are a presence, an unknown force, and even more profound. You are the command of my Lord. You think you are beings. You are all original commands inside a commanded universe that has no obligation to sequentially and chronologically make sense to you. Do you know what the march of the advanced humanity is? It's not like, yo man, let's go in this street and preach peace. No. You don't give, let me tell you. In my life, all moments have justified themselves. That means if the world leaders act too childish and wars begin increasing as we've been seeing a political turbulence, okay? We are reaching that time where humanity has to make a decision. Either de-evolve and dehumanize patterns, which means fall from your current progress, or in some sense, march towards the next chapter of the human species, which is the complete identification with the species, completely devoid of any other biased locality, which means you right now identify your value in existence based on your position's subjective meaning. That means you feel like right now, of course, like from one view, I'm a Iranian Canadian. Do you know I was born in Iran, raised in Canada, right? I'm a citizen of these lands, okay? Do you know, I speak their language, know their culture. Yet, do you think that when I'm just standing here right now, do you think I feel a Canadian, Iranian? What the F? You think I feel like words? Like chunks of land's behavioral looping? I feel like a human being. All I have ever seen in the mirror was a human being. It was not a name. It was not a subject. It was not an affiliation. It was that thing. It's the species. That is what must be protected. The flickering candle flame that we must all jump in front of. Because the wrong breeze at the wrong time can in some sense make us forget the value of all of it. Ooh, sorry guys, I don't know. Something's up with me today. In my inner realms, okay, I have not just had communication with human archetypes. I have noticed dehumanized archetypes, but as the wisdom of, my own soul knew from the beginning, the point of existence is not the forms. The forms are there to provide a unique function. The unique function provides the new awareness. In other words, to treat yourself as an existential entity is in some sense to avoid the rest of your life. Do you know where I'm getting at? In other words, imagine there's a older brother, okay? There's a middle brother, younger brother, and then there's the youngest brother. The older brother comes home after work and sees that the younger brother and the middle brother are fighting. The older brother enters the room separates them. If they don't separate, if they don't stop fighting, it will scare both of them to stop. But it's merciful, which means if humans don't get into divine line, which means be aware beyond the forms that separate us, that justify why we should destroy each other. They have made you pay attention to how different we are before you've even seen how similar we are. We are one species in the cosmos. One species in the cosmos. Repeat this forever to everyone. That means the political turbulence is going to either lead to interdimensional scolding, or a new human being will arise. That means, first of all, any two people that fight, they will not be the same, and their impressions of each other will not be the same. And human beings cannot avoid having respect for those who are in the same room as them. You know, I've talked to people and they're like, yo, man, that person doesn't deserve respect. Or, man, don't help this person. You know, he's just going to do something effed up. Right? And I was like, you think I'm helping that person? Sorry, buddy, I'm not. I'm helping a member of my species, because how dare my species have access to the advanced vision but not be there? You know, I've reached that point in my life where I don't care if I become annoying or profound for the species. I see the thing that, in some sense, how do I say it? I see the genius tactic. We either break ourselves in old contexts or we advance to a new one. I care for my species. There's 8 billion humans on this planet. I don't know 8 billion people. I don't know 8 billion what behind their eyes, what kind of beings they are. Do you know? But I know that the human mind behind its eyes has a capability to tune its attention to unnecessary realities. That means, I don't know how, but I think this was the greatest gift my grandfather gave me. Okay? The greatest gift my grandfather gave me, and he gave all his grandkids when we were very young, and he passed away. God bless him. He came up to all, he called all of his grandkids, right? You know, all of them. And he said, kids, always choose the greatest option. And we all heard what he said, but I think none of us really took it at heart. Years later, I understood that your choice decides your world. That means if you choose a bad environment, you're choosing that environment's identity. What they don't teach, like real estate, I thought it'd be more sophisticated by now. But real estate agents and just the real estate industry, man, like how freaking, like, I'm sorry, maybe the information's not there. Hey guys, sorry about that. Something was happening outside the window. I just my attention went there. Sorry about that. Being called towards the greater motivations for all of our existence. I believe the assembly could either refer to some sort of, I don't know, maybe strange interdimensional meeting that will happen consciously for the species. We are destined to be part of each other's lives indirectly in regards to just our influence. I believe that just like life, you start with lower process games. It eventually becomes, as you mature in reality, a higher process game. These higher process games are not limited to the human free will's expectation. When you look at the species, to me, the more, how do I say it? It's like sometimes a person's inner realm is moving before their outer realm. Sometimes their outer realm moves before their inner realm. Sometimes the soul knows that it has to exist in a moment in a certain way before it even exists in that moment. And so the whole point of me saying even to you guys that my grandpa said, like, kids, like, choose the greatest, because I am telling you, it's always been there. The greatest revelation and in one of the greatest discoveries of my lifetime. I'm proud, and I don't even, like, maybe the world will never know, but for me, right, one of the most fascinating and proudest moments of my lifetime, when I realized the greatest conclusion to all arguments on earth physically, like for the visible external realm. The moment the word advanced, my mind didn't just accept it. All right, that's what it means. No. My mind saw the beauty. Just took another look at that word, and suddenly my mind got to work. In front of every idea I have ever known in my life, the word advanced can be put in front of it. Therefore, it's an option. In other words, people are thinking, man, should I be good or bad? Should I be right or wrong? But if we realize there is an unknown advanced option, I believe this. I believe in every moment there is a genius angle. I believe anything is possible because it follows the idea, right? I told you guys, like, I realized it from, like, making an omelet one day, that I looked up a tutorial and some person in Japan was making some next level animated omelet, right? And I was like, there you go, right? I just have to care and will it and realize that there are more advanced beings doing this. And then your fear and nervousness and all of that crap goes away because you realize the moment is more important than how you feel. That's how I gain my confidence. I find something more important than myself, and it makes it easy. Like, I stop caring for how I feel, to me, it's games of life. I don't know how you guys are doing it. I don't know how everybody's doing it. I don't know how you guys every day, come and live, and the context of reality doesn't expand. It's just looping. Like, I don't understand this. In the evenings, the species should have conversations. In one of Hafiz Shirazi, from Iran, this Persian poet, ancient Persian poet, culturally known in all literary universes, around the world. You might not believe it, but I was legit, by being born as Persian and Iranian, I am in one of the most, there's a very sophisticated literary context, Hafez in one of his poems says that there will come a time where in the evenings everybody will be listening to the friend. Now, I don't know why when I heard this, I thought like, yo, does that mean podcasts? You know? But then I realized, no, he means that there will come a point where in the day you'll go and do your small world job. And then the moment you get home or you're outside, okay, you start acknowledging the macro problems of reality. That's the shift. You have to start trying to solve problems that are bigger than you, and you will in some sense find solutions that only the versions of you that are bigger than you now know, right? That means, like, just because I see a problem in this moment doesn't mean tomorrow I'm not going to be a self that's already solved it. The nature of reality is really fascinating, but I don't know. It took me a while to separate myself from myself, so I stop interpreting everything before I actually look at it. You know, like, I said in one talk, the self could be eclipsing truth. Have you ever thought about it? That the thing that is blocking you from understanding everything is you. What does that mean though? It's not you as in you're the problem. It's that because your attention is on you, you don't see anything else. You might not even care for anything else. Is that an advanced being? No. An advanced being, like, you see people, presidents, politicians that go and lie in people's faces and smile, right? And then you see presidents who freaking cry, who are horrified, who in some sense are like, guys, we can't keep feeding you this bullshit lie that everybody's figured out everything. And you guys are all a bunch of unknown beings, and it's up to all of our conduct in what sort of advanced organizational pattern arises. In the evenings, you will hear the friend. Doesn't mean, like, some you're listening to voices close to truth. No, ladies and gentlemen, the truth is closer than any voice to you. Before the spiritual master speaks to you, and that sound wave travels into your ears, okay, the truth is closer to you. As Muslims, we know that God, the awareness of the system admin and the divine surveillance state, is closer to us than our jugular vein. Do you know what that means? That means lie to others as much as you want. Think you can hide. Do you know? But I am telling you, the surveillance state logs all of it. Everything you have done, from the most dirtiest to the purest, from the cruelest to the kindest, all of it has been logged. And there is a reason. Because worlds arise not to create beings, but to generate responsibility for souls. That means your mind is experiencing, oh my God, is the species gonna go extinct because world leaders were greedy and were manipulative? It's like, no, behind worlds breaking, higher order processes are always there. The point of it is that people think Islam, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, right, that the purity of Islam, impurity means acting like God. That means when a Muslim, okay, kills another person, or any human being kills another person, from the religious view, God's creation thinks it has the right to destroy God's creation. Do you understand? It is like if someone says, I believe in God, and is like destroying people, I am telling you that that being is preparing the most divine destruction for themselves. Yo, souls, don't be evil in this place. It's unnecessary, because you're gonna see the chaos you were is gonna find you. Guys, I am someone who sometimes speaks very deeply. There is one sentence in my anger my ego has said that I've been scolded, divinely scolded, okay? When I intentionally said this, not now that I'm just explaining language to you. I'm not throwing it at anyone now. But there was, but at the time, and I said something, somebody did something so messed up in front of me that I don't know why, a part of me, and I'm telling you, everybody has chaos and order within them, but you activate that chaos and order based on the type of archetype you commonly project. Okay? And I am not a chaotic person because I am too silly for chaos. You know? It's like somebody, a chaotic being could come up to me and be like, let's destroy the world. And I'm like, yeah, who has the time for that? Like that. My silliness is my greatest defense mechanism. You don't understand. Some of the silliest human beings on earth are some of the most advanced minds that have found a mechanism to traverse different contexts. The art of context shifting is not taught to a lot, but any performing artist you see has that capability. They are context shifters. But everybody's been indoctrinated in concept shifting. I'm sorry, like jumping from stepping stones, like in a river or something. It's like, yeah, I was this concept man in 2025, and then in 2026 I became this concept, and then in 2027 I became that concept, and then like concept transformation to the power of infinity. And I'm like, so what? So what? I can see different. I can choose to perceive this moment from infinite angles. From so many different angles. Why do those angles matter? That's the question. The question is not, is infinity true? No, infinity is real for humans. Because at some point, duality multiplied by itself doesn't make sense. And it's brilliant mathematically. I do not know who all of you are, but I know that behind your eyes, you are the presence of your whole moment, and you find your body in the awareness of your moment, including everything else, and even these words you're hearing. I understand that, yes, all of you have gone through some journey in life, gone through some sort of, I don't know, trauma, mistreatment, whatever, or maybe you just didn't even care for yourself or didn't know how, or you didn't have enough love or something. But I'm telling you, sometimes, and I think this is truly found in the masculine spirit, whenever your kingdom was at war, and when you heard those bells of the kingdom at war, you would be like, all right, fuck. We got to go and be the bricks that maintain, the kingdom, right? This doesn't mean go and destroy for the sake, like, I'm seeing, like, I'm Iranian, okay? And right now in Iran, you don't understand what sort of post-apocalyptic shit, apocalyptic shit is happening there on the streets, where like Samaritans, civilians are running over the cops that are like these people that are shooting and killing people because the martial laws come into implementation, right? So it's this bizarre scenario, and last night I just saw this video and I was in this elevated state of mind, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, I saw this guy drive over these people who were shooting people, and I was like, okay, not just did my heart break a million times in that nanosecond of just witnessing that, in that second of seeing that, but in some sense, okay, it is now time for the hidden advanced beings in the realm and the shy geniuses, hiding behind their eyes this whole time. It is now time for the designers, those responsible and who still care for the potential of reality. I never thought this kind of war would, I never thought this level of a war could exist. It's a level of war of soul. Do you know what that means? It means if you are still scared, not scared, but if you still are moving and believe it's only objective and subjective, then we must slow hand clap for how the simulations trapped you. You know, you might not understand it. I don't say this, but if you see me talking about a positive thing, don't think in my mind I'm not seeing the opposite. You know, if you see me talking about chaos, don't think I'm not seeing the opposite. This world, not only again the dualistic relationship, like, okay, you're these physical organisms, you entered a higher order process of language. Now, most of you are experiencing yourselves based on your intelligent interaction levels, I call it. That means you wake up in the day and to be something or to be something new is your priorities, usually. Or to be something well, which is new if you weren't as well before. You know, I have lived through my fair share of observing and wondering about different views on extraterrestrial content. Even if the assembly arises, it's most likely a God conscious assembly. Do you know what that means? That means most people think like aliens are gonna land down on Earth and gonna be like, "Yo, man, we're gonna invade you. What you gonna do?" You know, and they're gonna like push the species back. People think it's gonna be something like that, hilariously, but no, it's going to be through introduction and invitation into higher order rhythms. By entering higher order rhythms, you activate as a presence of reality, not a specific personality of an embodiment. So I do understand that all of you as beings are experiencing your objective position, your subjective position, and your lives throughout the day are based on how you simulate the day in front of you, like behind your eyes, and then walk through it and follow it up and walk through it. Right? Like, I understand. You know, people can tell me they're not visual thinkers. If you can remember what the food you ate yesterday looks like, your mind is generating an abstract visual event. What they haven't taught humanity is that you remember films better than you remember sentences on a page. And for those, when I was young, everybody, like, I would get like so bored of like reading, right? And people were like, "Read slower, man." And I was reading so freaking slow that to some degree I was like, "What the F? What is this? Like, doesn't make sense. Like, this is not reading." You know, like, I knew something was off. Years later, I got interested, you know, when I discovered, like, you know, how many new ways I could exist behind my eyes, that that the belief of my outer identity permitted. But the moment I realized I'm not my body and I'm not just the thoughts I have on my body in that moment, that I'm a changing event in this world, like, I don't know how to say it, guys, like, um in the inner realms, okay, all the words that I'm saying are entering your ears, and when they enter your ears, they either project images. Okay, it either turns into an image, or you see the visual word, or it reflects off like a light beam into another memory sector or another sector of your mind, you know, of your inner realms. Okay, in the inner realms, abstraction is treated as normal. You know, that means if you're telling us to imagine someone, like, you know, can you imagine, you know, somebody jumping, like, you know, floating in the air? Like, yeah, you know, anybody can imagine that, because when we see films, our minds are capable of imagining that, right? So if we see in films flying cars, okay, you know, and cyberpunk vibes, but we're still not there, it means that our brains are capable of generating and accessing a model of a future reality. But how is it that we can see something futuristic, but we're not in the future? That's a great question, because this is where life shifts from me finding meaning, and you're like, "Wait a minute, it never was about generating meaning or finding meaning. It's that I found meaning, and now what do I do with this meaning?" And you're going to realize that you need purpose if you want a strong identity. Okay? I didn't realize this, you know? Some people came and told me, like, "You speak passionately in your talks." Right? And I was like, "Yo, man, I had never thought, like, how emotionally, like, my talks are coming across. You know what I mean? I was always thinking about like the conceptual level. I was pretty much, so when I speak, guys, I'm pretty much thinking like, yo, man, what picture are these listeners now seeing in their mind, right? But to me, I'm understanding that we, all human beings on Earth, the 8.1 billion out of the 117 billion that has existed, and we have to respect and honor all the human beings that have existed so far. Why? Because it doesn't happen often. Why? Because it's the most advanced thing. The most stupid is what we as in a dualistic realm consider, like it doesn't even make sense, but the most stupidest person we consider on earth is still the most advanced compared to all other species that don't have a developed prefrontal cortex. And there is no such thing as stupidity. Do you know why? Because the soul is energy at its core. It never gets tired. Therefore, fascination doesn't run out the way your fascination manifests does. You know? I realized something that, I guess it might make these talks interesting for people, that I can move into and experience semi-visually experience locations. Like I don't have a Bugatti right now. Do you know what I mean? But I have imagined if I was in a Bugatti and I was giving a talk with my laptop, just like how it is right now, what would it be like in a Bugatti? Then my mind went forward. It leaped from that image into being like, okay, imagine I was in a flying car and my flying car was parked between two skyscrapers that went beyond the clouds, imagine. Or three skyscrapers, or like between two giant skyscrapers, between the clouds and my, what do you call it? What's its name? Pretty much we haven't got into the column era, okay? But you're going to see giant columns probably in 1,000 years arise, because humans are going to realize it doesn't matter population, vertically there's endless space. The human civilization, a part of its majority, not a majority, but like a part of its, a very important sector, it is its ability to utilize new spaces. I don't know what's going to happen in this world. I thought it was just an expression when they said life is like a roller coaster. Now I'm realizing the species is on a roller coaster and it's starting to get important. Whenever you see violence after let's say thousands of years of like an effort towards civility, then you're seeing the institution of civility being attacked. Okay? And do you know what happens? The world was at peace and is at peace as long as it believes peace is possible. The moment anybody believes peace is impossible, that's when you have unfortunately gotten close to building hell on earth rather than heaven. We must seek the paradisal visions that guided our ancestors. There are greater views on life that surpass the identity of the human. I urge all of you, I have no clue who any of you are, and you might be in a low status in society, a very high status in society. It doesn't matter, because consciousness is the ability to be an unknown experiencer of a moment where there is a human condition happening, and it's like you've opened your eyes in a video game that you've logged into, and at night you're going to log out, and tomorrow you're going to log back in, and then you're going to think it's a new day, and then you're going to realize the novelty of your experiences based on your circadian rhythms, based on your biology. Like right now you don't understand. Every person that's a bodybuilder, influencer, their grandkids, all of them, right now we're experiencing, usually it is like this. You see social media, for example, guys, okay? When you see social media right now, we're like, man, so much stupid shit online, and we can't even know if it's real anymore or not, because legit AI videos are getting as good. Like, it's kind of exciting. For me, it's that I know I've lived it in my inner realms, right? Like, I'm sorry to say, but I do have a time traveler's ego, and I don't know why, and I am being sincere when I say this. I don't know why my mind has cared to wonder about more than my lifetime. I don't know why, but because it's possible, I think I was interested to wonder. Ladies and gentlemen, or all the souls activated in the human conscious position right now, this world is presenting to us or showing to us that if you are not responsible for your body, your mind will be in some sense turbulent. If you're not responsible for your mind, your interpretation of the actual values of reality will be turbulent. The whole battle, psychological battle of civilization, and the whole challenge of it is that we are raised epistemologically, but reality has an ontological value. Now, what do these words mean? Epistemologically means we're treating how we know things as real rather than treating reality being possible to be a position that we don't have access to. What would you do then? That means they're like, whoa, what does that mean? There's truth, but we don't have access to it? Wait a minute, there's a clue here. You don't have access to truth. As a Muslim, I believe in a soul, but I believe the soul is in some sense a secret of God. I believe that the soul, we know little of the soul, and in the Holy Quran it says that the soul is the amr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is the command of the one and only being, original being. In other words, it is the amr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and man knows but little of the soul. That means we are experiencing the tip of the iceberg. I don't care if you want to believe the tip of the iceberg has past lives or future lives or parallel lives. To me, it's like, yo man, the majority of the iceberg is in unknown waters. That's what's going on Earth. You're seeing beings, the conscious expression of intelligence, in unknown waters. What does that mean? In an unknown world, we're actually being unknown selves that have somehow been conditioned to treat themselves as known selves in a known world, but they're realizing the world they have known has been the limits of, again, the epistemology aspect of it. It's like how you've come to know life. You care for that, and I understand. This might sound strange, right? Violence should not be tolerated. The species is too advanced and civilized for, just like how Isaac Asimov said, violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. Anytime you see people get angry and violent, their inner realms have stopped working. That means they've stopped caring to figure out, to see more of the moment. Do you understand? Just like that hilarious video. There was this hilarious video. This guy's standing at an ATM. Oh, sorry. There's this line up for an ATM. There's this beautiful, physically attractive woman, right? Behind him, there's like some innocent guy. And behind that guy, there's like the mischievous Loki archetype. And this guy goes and, excuse me, but, slaps that lady's behind, right? And the lady, the attractive woman, turns around and slaps this innocent guy out of nowhere, right? And so if you look at that beautiful woman's psychology, as beautiful as she was, the moment she stopped articulating and wanting to see more, the moment from more views, she decided on an act. She reacted to the moment. Do you understand? Right? That means it's hilarious. Do you know that if you grant yourself just a couple second pause, The right answer might find you before you too quickly decided the wrong answer. Dear viewers, I don't know if you guys, I do speak about the advanced civilization, but I care for everything that life force has been an attempt of. Or do you know how life forces move? To be honest, guys, you are all like sure. Like if I strip away the language and the ideology and the subjectivity, you're just physical movement. You're just manifest a part of to me. Everybody outside of me is the world moving. Do you know? Even I, and it took me a while, but I realized oh my God, I'm the world moving too. Do you know? And then I realized, wait a minute, what's moving the world is not the world. Is not limited to the world. That's the greatest truth. People think Islam, I was making a point, I didn't finish the idea. They think that Islam, and guys, I believe all my talks in the future will become beautiful paintings. You're going to see. Conceptually, they can become paintings. But anyways, where I was going, I don't know. Has that moment arose where you felt that eeriness of how you truly don't know so much of reality, and you start feeling this sense of like, okay, I'm in the presence of a system that is way more complex than my understanding, and for survival, sure, I'm taking like known protocols and like common pathways, like when I see human beings, like let me tell you, I was so in my introverted, shy childhood desperate for external like contact and communication, right? And it was so funny because it's like what they say when when a person's hungry, starving, they'll eat anything, right? And it took me a while to realize, like, I believe this, that it takes a while for us to realize we're people. That's what life is. That's what's growing up is. You realize you're an independent agent of all the agencies that have administered you. But then when you have that, philosophical fascination for, okay, where is everybody though? Like, what is this place? What is this exactly? Guys, there is nothing to teach. You will find a moment where you will realize the amount that you don't know is so much more beyond what you know, and that you will know deep down if you've been looping in your life, or what's been missing is the creative component of realizing your inner realms are faster and more unconditional. That means for the longest time I was like system admin. Oh, profound original power that all has arose from. Why have you given me a mind? Like, I can understand you creating existence and in some sense the soul moving in existence, but why the mystery of the mind? Do you understand? The mind is our life as a field of intelligence, but the mind's output is the identity that is closest thing that the mind can generate to an individual body. And guys, no offense to anybody who's listening, I see all of you as, in some sense, the commands of the system admin. I see all souls as having system admin privileges. All of you can be close to the original power, even though you're experiencing a simulated existence. The only difference is you have to realize truth was in the room before anything else was. When you understand truth is the unknown unconditional, do you understand? And you know what it is? Religion is the response to the unknown. In Islam, in the Holy Quran, it says this. It says it's legit saying to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that you are a warner that this book is a warning and it's a confirmation for those who believe in the unseen, which means if you've noticed it's a box, time to look outside the box, you know? I don't know why I went into a melody right now, but that's what it is. Yeah, I don't know what that was, guys. Sorry. It's like glitched in my rhythm. Anyways, the arrival, I'll just end it off with this, guys. Pretty much we're in an unknown world. There's an unknown self. We've been conditioned to know ourselves in a known way, to access a known subjective reality. We have to do this to survive, and also because it's very cool and it's like the coolest technology we can use is like communication right now, and understanding different ways that reality can in some sense be translated into this lower dimension. So language is like a lower dimensional technology that is translating our current dimensional technology in a way that we can use that use those translations to probabilize higher order processes. If you're smart, you know what the difference between smart and stupid, I think, is? It's being able to acknowledge the actual value. I think that's a smart person. Like somebody could be arguing with them and they suddenly see, okay, what's the point of us arguing about this? They see the actual value of the moment and they're freed. But those who don't see the actual value, or they constantly want to see the value they want to see, right? I'm telling you, there are advantages to being a realist. You can understand, you can notice reality being administered. The whole point of it is, like, most people want emotional enlightenment. That's why love is so important, right? And that emotional enlightenment is for their sense to belong and to be accepted. You know why? Because evolution is like, yo, how's your ego going to accept itself when you're changing? In the middle of the world, like in the middle of the changing world, people are accepting themselves. It's like, yeah, man, I understand. Everything's changing. I don't even have the same body as I did years ago. But I have the same beliefs. I have the same views. It's like, nah, man. Even if years have passed by and you still have the same beliefs, I'm telling you, subconsciously, you are someone else. You're living the life of your past because either you have OCD, like me sometimes, where I'm trying to correct a past moment so I have a clean sequence of memories, but in some sense, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you had to fail to realize success is possible. Like, concept of success exists. Like sometimes in my life, I'm like, why? Why does my YouTube channel not have like a large audience right now? Why? And there's a power when you realize that it's not just new concepts can be possible, new contexts can be possible, therefore means new renderings of identity. In other words, we're all being ushered. How are you doing? Listen to the heart that knows better before it makes a mistake. Feel the presence of a world that is far superior than you, and you have a choice of being scared by it, intimidated by it, or being fascinated to understand it. Like, like, even if I was a traveler, okay, let's say I was like some extraterrestrial diplomat, like in my sci-fi I have stuff like that, but not me, but I could like imagine, right? I would be like, okay, if I came to this planet and I'm like, yo, do you guys know what you are? And everybody's like, nah, man, we don't have a clue, we just think we're this, and I'll be like, okay, so they would call me, imagine, and they'll be like, yo, man, what's going on Earth? you know. And imagine I was sent from the Andromeda galaxy or something, you know, and they're like, yo man, what's happening on Earth? And I'll be like, guys, I gotta, you know, stay here. This planet doesn't even know what it is. Like the most advanced species on this planet still hasn't noticed the divine cognitive fields, you know. And so it would be at that point where I would have to be like, man, you know, like this is like, it's not even that much of a complex problem, you know. Like I see it in dimensions. So there's physical problems, there is, let's say, mind positioned mental field problems, okay, and then there is the longing of the soul, and that's not something I could even tell you. It's just a part of you knows that it knows that it has known, that it knows somewhere. Yeah, I don't know how to tell you. I have a familiarity with the unknown, and I don't know why, but I'm not a stranger to it. I don't know how to explain this to you. It's not strange for me. You know, but it is for everybody. I don't know, like talking about why things happen. You know, it was Eleanor Roosevelt, you know, he said like small minds talk about people, I don't know, medium minds talk about events, you know, great minds, you know, talk about ideas. Why? Because the ideas are setting the story that the biology is fulfilling. That means you have to, if you really want to become knowledgeable, you got to realize what Socrates said. The only true wisdom is to know you know nothing. Because the true scholarlyhood on this world is not like, yo man, yo, it's like, to me, you know why I think kids don't, like, sometimes it's justified that students don't respect teachers. Like I 100% think that's okay. You know, and I dislike the archetype of student, teacher. No, you're all unknown explorers, you know. At best, the educational system can become a, you know, multi-leveled ranking system. You know, that means you're going to see like some old dude be like rank 1032, you know, and they'll be like, yo, this guy's academic ranks are like superior, right? And the guy's written, I don't know, like let's say 100,000 essays or something. You know, something. As a writer, I do feel like the eeriness of like, yo, man, I should have given out my book sooner. You know, but don't worry, you'll see the way I've written them. You'll be like, yeah, this book was written from years ago. To me, I don't know. I think the purpose of life is to find something important for it and then care for it completely. For me, I've chosen that to be the potential of not myself, of my species. That means my destiny is not in the hands of just God, but it is in the hands of how God's invisible hands move all of your visible hands. I understand that it's a divine surveillance state. We're inside a simulated testing zone. Again, everything's being logged. Nothing is hidden. Every moment, the clue, I think the message really is that you can directly contact the system admin. That means imagine holy books as like support lines. You know, like, for example, like they're like, call this number for customer service, right? Or call this number, to talk to a, member of our support team. To me, that's what religion, you don't understand. Religion is the Holy Quran. At least I'm not like, I don't have like a PhD in theology, but I think I have the attention and I think I have noticed things that somebody in that level may, and I'm trying to tell you the greatest clue is that you can have a direct relationship with the unconditional. That's what Islam means. Christianity to me means having a relation with the specific condition. Buddhism means having a relationship with the emptiness of the system, and the final realization is that the truth is none of our thoughts. Thoughts are pointing to it. That is why man received revelation and did not give it. It can't. You don't understand the realities that this book acknowledged at the time. For those there, it was very strange. Now, there is this thing that You know, like in the Holy Quran, there is the great story. In the Holy Quran, there's a lot of stories about the prophet Moses, right? And there's hopefully I can I mean um, I visually know it as a prophet Moses has a direct relationship, and peace be upon him, has a direct relationship with communication with the system admin of reality with God. And God tells him, go to the Pharaoh and tell him that I am here, that such a power exists. And Moses is like, God, like I don't have a like good relation because he did some sin or he did something wrong, like in society, in the Pharaoh's society, right? So you know, Prophet Moses says like, why don't you send my brother Aaron, do you know, Prophet Aaron, peace be upon him, do you know, why don't you send my brother, because he doesn't have bad relationship with people, and like, sorry, not bad relationship, he hasn't done, like, he doesn't have bad credit there or notoriety or something, right? And also he was also a leper, I think he had a skin disease, I believe. This part can be checked again, right? And everything I'm saying here, you can always go check it again. And but anyways, and God says no, both of you go. So the two prophet brothers go, you know, and which is very incredible. I just noticed. I don't know if there's other prophet brothers and religions, you know, but anyways, both of them go to the Pharaoh. And this part of the Holy Quran is so incredibly written. Prophet Moses legit confronts the most intimidating thing, the thing he's afraid of. Okay, God makes him confront his biggest fear. Not his biggest fear, but a fear he had. Prophet Moses is like, God, send my brother. God is like, no, both of you go. And they both go, and I don't remember the exact conversation, but visually, as a visual learner, and I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, I am speaking about the significance of these images, okay? So I believe that Prophet Moses and Aaron, Prophet Moses goes to the Pharaoh, tells the Pharaoh he is not the real God, tells him that there's a real God and he's making an error. And in some sense, Pharaoh doesn't believe him. And so in that narrative, in those passages of that surah, holy surah, they believe Prophet Moses to be a magician. And the Pharaoh, if I remember correctly, considers him as a magician and says this is magic. So they assemble all the magicians, and the magicians come in front of the prophet and they do their magic, right? And they create like these fake snakes, you know? And then in that moment, and also I believe, if I remember correctly, Prophet Moses' leprosy had also healed, his skin disease, right? And so in that moment, he's commanded, legit told by the higher order, a higher order process event from the higher planes enters the lower planes. That means God's will manifests instantly. Do you understand? And God's will, by God's will, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will, the unconditional original being, Prophet Moses throws his staff, it animates into a living being, as if it gets reprogrammed instantly it gets recommanded into existence as the truth the moment was commanded for, destined for. In other words, it was not magic. Divinity made magic obsolete. And here's the most profound part, the power of God. The magicians, the moment they see the illusionists and the magicians and all those people in the manipulation of interdimensional, like beyond the veil and behind the veil and all of that, all of them suddenly bow down in prostration because they realize Prophet Moses is not a magician. The moment divinity, the purity of divinity was made conscious to man, the impurity of magic became obsolete, and now it only lingers in culture, but it does, you don't understand. It's like a manager trying to argue with the owner of the company. That's the difference. Or like an employee realizing, no, there is greater authority. You know what power is? Power is not what you have in a bank account or how many protein shakes you drank. Power is just like even Sun Tzu in The Art of War wrote, the true general aligns with the heavens. It is the noticing of the higher order. That's why I'm saying don't waste time worshiping lower order beings. Go towards the higher order processes of your realm as a species together, because that's how we advanced. You don't understand. Like, this is the hardest thing for me as someone who's been like a lone, who's like like being a lone wolf and a rogue soul is so standard to me. You don't understand. I'm that person who, it's like, if in some sense loneliness was a monster, I was trapped with this monster in behind my eyes in my inner realms for so long that I think what happened was that this monster realized I don't care. That means it's like you try something a couple times. If it doesn't happen, I'm sorry. There's a background honor protocol. What does our species deserve? And if we have minds that see a more advanced version, then God is giving us our clues. There are those, and you know, God is all merciful. Do you know what that means? That means God gives second chances. This higher power has designed the system that your redemption, do you know, you always have an ability that when you get into a dead end of your life, okay, that ego failed. Now you need a power beyond egos to guide you. What is the only archetype known for a power that can guide moments? The fabrication of moment. You don't understand. In the same way I am saying these words, do you see how they're manifesting when I speak of them? Do you know, in the same way, existence, guys, existence, it can be like the verbs, the humanized verbs don't justify, give it justice, do it justice, but it's as if it's a conversation between the soul of the original moment and the soul of the simulated field. There is a divine field, but we're functioning in a simulated field. So guys, in the Shahnameh, I don't know if this is a fictional character, so these could be fictional characters saying these. These are not this is not like me saying like, yo man, this is what like Edgar Allan, like, I don't know, maybe his was like this. Anyways, guys, whatever. I'm reading poems. These are fictional characters saying these sentences in his poetry work. It's a work of fiction, but the values of it are beyond fiction. So anyways, he says, I'm going through the quote tunnel, and he says, while one is brought up with luxury and caresses, and is thrown bewildered and despairing into a dark pit, another is lifted from the pit and raised to a throne where a jeweled crown is placed on his head. The world has no shame in doing this. It is prompt to hand out both pleasure and pain, and has no need of us and our doings. Ferdowsi says, from moment then to moment their desire, from moment then to moment their desire gained strength, and so guys, I'm gonna say, sorry, I'm gonna read that again. I'm gonna read a few more, and then I'm gonna end this lecture. I'm gonna say some final words about my vision, and I'm gonna end this. Okay, so Ferdowsi says, from moment then to moment their desire gained strength, and wisdom fled before love's fire. Passion engulfed them, and these lovers lay entwined together till the break of day. Ferdowsi says, listen, this story's one you ought to know. You'll reap the consequences of what you sow. This fleeting world is not the world where we are destined to abide eternally, and for the sake of an unworthy throne, you let the devil claim you for his own. I have few days left here. I have no heart for war. I cannot strive and struggle anymore. But hear an old man's words, the heart that's freed from gnawing passion and ambitious greed, looks on king's treasures and the dust as one. The man who sells his brother as you've done, for this same worthless dust will never be regarded as a child of purity. Wow, 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 wow. The world has seen so many men like you and laid them low. There's nothing you can do but turn to God. Take thought then for the way you travel, since it leads to but turn to God. Take thought then for the way you travel, since it leads to judgment day. That means the true destination, this is my belief, guys, the true destination of all conscious beings in this realm is towards that. Were you aware of where you were and what you were in the presence of, and what sort of commanded fields of reality you're in, and what you moved and what moved you and what moved everything, and how everything returned to that which moved all? One last thing I'm going to read from Ferdowsi. He says, I've reached the end of this great history, and all the land will fill with talk of me. I shall not die. These seeds I've sown will save my name and reputation from the grave. Wow. Wow. Yeah. I think that's every podcaster's dream. I'll read it again. And I've reached the end of this great history, and all the land will fill with talk of me. I shall not die. These seeds I've sown will save my name and reputation from the grave, and men of sense and wisdom will proclaim, when I have gone, my praises and my fame. Yup, I'm talking about you, Ferdowsi. Okay, I'm going to read this last thing. It says by this dude named Davis, who I guess wrote a book on the Persian Book of Kings. And this is a foreword by Azar Nafisi. So Azar Nafisi is saying this. He says, my father always insisted that Persians basically did not have a home except in their literature, especially their poetry. This country, our country, he would say, has been attacked and invaded numerous times. And each time when Persians had lost their sense of their own history, culture, and language, they found their poets as the true guardian of their true home. Yeah, guys, this is something every Persian dad legit tells their kids. You know what I mean? Like we know that there was some legendary moment in Persian history where some rare souls arrived and legit took literature and language. They legit used language in next level ways to advance their, I guess, the inner realms of the species at their time. And through God's will, their words were remembered. It's incredible. But anyways, guys, one last thing from Ferdowsi, from the Shahnameh, from actual Ferdowsi. He says, I have built a high palace that will never disappear. No rain, no wind will destroy. Ferdowsi says, when you are made a king, adopt the humility of a slave. Wow. Wow. This is one of my favorite quotes. Anyways, folks, thank you for listening. To go back to, this was some stuff about Ferdowsi. I don't know. I guess I'm going to listen to these talks later. Guys, there's this one quote. I'm going to read this too. It says, Ferdowsi says in the Shahnameh, Zahak reigned for 1,000 years, and from end to end the world was hid to command. The wise concealed themselves and their deeds, and devils achieved their heart's desire. Virtue was despised and magic applauded. Justice hid itself away while evil flourished. Demons rejoiced in their wickedness while goodness was spoken of only in secret. Yeah, the advanced communicators and the advanced humanity, hopefully through God's will, God willing, they will not allow that. This world, we will not let, like I'm telling you guys, the modern world's strength arises from what it feels it deserves, and what it feels it deserves. It is the world it has noticed. That means when you get a taste of a better world, or you get an experience of a better domain of realities and animation, when you see a better world, you cannot stay in that old world anymore. Like you've seen something more. Just like the Truman Show, when you notice something suddenly out of the simulation, okay, I understand everybody's scared, so they're telling them one story, but to truly comprehend this reality, we have to not be afraid of the unknown. We have to realize that the unknown is the most fascinating mission of mankind, the biggest mission of every human being that has existed. All of you probably feel this subconsciously, that we've just become civilized compared to the expanse of history. That means the amount of time existence has been existing, I guess, to some scientific theorization based on values of certain, scientific theories, right? It's like in a nanosecond, it's like a glimpse. It's like legit in one glimpse, in one blink, suddenly we're conscious beings and we're responsible for our conduct. And the biggest thing we're responsible is figuring out what's going on. So the more advanced we all live, the further the future generations can go. And the most advanced idea in this world is what's outside of the box of the simulation of reality. And reality is simulated, folks. Your body is simulated. The words I'm saying is simulated. Your consciousness simulates when you wake up, and when you go to deep sleep, it's not simulated. So it's various states. It's like honestly different elements in a system, but the whole system is being administered by a command given a being that is not limited to this system. What does that mean? We are, whether we know it or not, the species is experiencing its own soul as a matter of speech. That means We are reaching that point where the species is realizing its soul, realizing caring for the advanced potential and greatness of reality is more important than anything else. I am not, like, I'll be honest, again, I don't know any of you, but I know that we, like, legit, what else can we do? The only thing left, build the most advanced civilization in the presence of the most advanced power, do the advanced checklist that all dimensions are advanced, and to truly hope that humanity cares for itself beyond the language that might make it destroyed. You are beyond objects and subjects. You are a presence in this massive energetic event. You're all unique beings. You all have eyes that occupy a moment of the space-time continuum that nobody else does. You have a DNA nobody else has. You see reality in ways that nobody else does. And the reason you suffer, or you suffer in this current era, is because not the world is it's because you have made the context of the world is small. Psychological suffering can arise when, just like if you don't change your t-shirt and you wear a t-shirt for childhood, over the years, you're like, that t-shirt's going to suffocate you. You're going to outgrow it, right? And sometimes a person outgrows the context to the conceptual way they're being, and they might not realize it. But that outgrowing is very important, because it means that you have to consciously realize there is better ways that we can be. All of us can be here in better ways. That's the argument. That means the only reason I'm talking about advanced civilizations and all this is honestly because we can see it. I can imagine myself walking in a sky city with my cup of coffee hovering in the air beside me. I can see my inner realm. It invites me. But because the reason I can see, though, is because I don't identify. You know why? Because if you identify with what you see, you get trapped in the first world. There's no other way. That means sometimes to see depth in reality means you have to not be convinced by it. Like what is convincing you that the meaning you assign to reality is accurate, right? And that's the whole thing I was saying between epistemology and ontology. And the biggest realization is the ontological mystery is beyond the human archetype. So we have to either use advanced tools, either have divine intervention or something, right? There has to be something. It's like I could see the space. It's like we're waiting. I guess that space that civilization is waiting for, I think that's the assembly. I think the assembly is that a higher order inner process is going to occur through the minds of everybody. We're going to see a strange global shift. That weird feeling that humans realize there's so many different ways to be human, and how do we all organize as a species? And what do we call humanness? How do we define that? Right? And we define it based on values, right, and positions. But I'm telling you, put the word advanced in front of humanity. Put the word advanced in front of civilization. Put the word advanced in front of life. I'm that person saying that we must attempt our most advanced life if we want to find, or if we want to see the most advanced result of our life. And God is the most advanced position in the human mind of intelligent administration. When we talk about a God beyond the world, we're talking about realities beyond words. That means more than humanity needs a specific truth or solve an equation. It needs to mature up existentially and accept that if we really want to be honest, we don't know. We're unknown beings in an unknown place. The rest is a subjective simulation overlay upon everything. Yes, this eeriness is most likely the purest, a pure spiritual experience. Because when you realize you don't know, you can't control. How can you control something you don't know? You can't control it. And the moment you realize it's not just human free will controlling the moment the whole time, that it's a majority of life is just hilariously faith and automated, like faith oriented and automated. It's automatically, you're automatically being a being, and in certain states throughout the day, this being can make as conscious decision, as conscious receptivity. That means you're living an unknown life here, and you think you know who you are and you know your life, but you don't know. You are just seeing the tip of the iceberg. Your subjective identity is the tip of the iceberg. Anyways, thank you for listening. There was some sort of time dilation in this lecture because this doesn't feel in any way close to 2 hours to me. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. And I believe that it doesn't matter like what kind of beings arise in this reality. The assembly, the greatest assembly of beings or beings on earth, maybe it could be something like that. Like a great assembly of souls. I don't know. The vision was, I went to a certain range of the vision. I just know that the assembly is arriving. That there's something, I think our species is interdimensionally destined for to experience as a global event. Right? And it is not, and most humans, like the human I experience, how do I say it? Like we as humans, because we have an amygdala, we have to maintain our fight or flight, approach to reality. Either good or either bad. Either I like it or either I dislike it. You know what I mean? Like either we're trapped in that, loop, in that weird, just mode, or we in some sense realize, no, I do not know who I really am. I do not know who others are. Therefore, I will respect the unknown code. That means when you don't know anyone, it's like the immediate thing is when inner realms, like, how do I say it? In an advanced civilization, you care for the world, and it doesn't matter what's in it. You're caring for all of it, right? But in civilizations that are not advanced, the carings are fragmented. Like either individuals are caring for themselves, or institutions are just caring for themselves, or I don't know. Like, well, it's games. They're playing games here. So many complicated games. Some of these games are so ancient that I know, like, I'm not even destined to see some of them. But anyways, it's reality is significant in regards to wondering about, okay, if it's going to get turbulent, it's going to probably require a great stabilizing event. The more unstable a system, stability is what can happen. The more stable the system, the instability is what can happen. Right? So if people are getting scared in the world because of instability, it's because there was a simulated level of stability. And that simulated level of stability that means the UN, whether they knew it or not, even though it's like the United Nations was granting the species, the hope of peace. Like we wanted to believe, like it was close enough to the reality of us believing, all right, these nations are united. If something messed up happens, they can figure it out. But ever since the whole, massacres that have been happening on planet Earth, which is one of the most scariest and bizarre statements, I've said in my life, and it's scary. I understand there's so many people die due to unnatural reasons, right? But so many people die due to natural reasons. But things that could be prevented and done are, I believe that's what makes it a sin. If you knew better, do you know what I mean? If you know a better way to live and you don't, then you have failed your soul before you could find it. You have to care, because that's what consciousness can do. It's just attention on some level. That is the game it plays. Anyways, guys, thank you for listening. And in the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, may the system admin, the most advanced position of reality, bless us all. I'm reaching that point that I'm like, all right, let's see how the world draws itself, is drawn into manifestation. My intent is that I'm just, all I can do as a soul is just go to the most advanced state and wait. That's what I'm doing. I think all the enlightened people on the planet, that's what they're doing. They're waiting. They're waiting for that realization that the moment that their lives are not defined or centered around points of identity, that they actually care for the vitality of the full potential of what something can be. That means when I talk about advanced civilizations, I can feel the unborn future generations watching. I don't know how. I think I can feel what's landing invisibly in the visible. What I mean by that is not like I'm talking about inner realm structure. Anyways, folks, thank you for listening. God bless all of you, and treat everybody in the most advanced way, and honor your species and care for the humanity. Like, realize that people could be scared behind their eyes. They might not know how to deal with things behind their eyes. They might be acting tough, but behind their eyes they're fragile, or they might be acting fragile or they're tough behind their eyes. Whatever it is, whatever kind of hands we've been dealt, the ultimate realization is, if our species had shared meaning, pretty much three things are important for any relationship. So if a species has a relationship with itself, it needs these three things: safety, respect, and shared meaning. If these three things don't exist in a relationship, you cannot have a relationship with anybody. If that person doesn't feel safe, that person doesn't feel respected, that means you actually see who's there. There's this unknown soul there, not just your ideas of them. And shared meaning is what allowed a bunch of cavemen, to be like, yo guys, let's just, build a bunch of spears and go hunt a mammoth and have food for like half a year. Do you know what I mean? It was that ability of all of us being able to see the same value, and that same value being able to shift our behaviors. And they've put you in a world that you think being commanded is bad. Do you understand? They've made everybody wanting to be like, yo, no, man, the coolest people, they're acting like kings and queens. Do you know what I mean? I gotta act like a king right now. I gotta act like the most alpha king guy with the biggest club, everybody shut the F up kind of guy. And then you realize, no, these are feeders of lost souls. Your soul is lost until you realize there are higher powers in this realm. I wrote one of the most greatest scripts called The Paper Crown King. That means to be crowned as a king is not a physical crown on your head. It is the destiny of what is needed in the moment. Anyways, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and the most advanced system admin and unconditional original moment of being. As I saw in a video years ago, there was this old religious, Muslim guy, in this video, and he was like sharing some, I don't know, it was like some random video on Facebook or something, and he was sharing like some conspiracies on reality, and at the beginning, he's like, guys, I'm going to share some weird conspiracies, about what's going to happen in the future, right? But don't fear. He pointed up, at the ceiling, and he's like, not at the ceiling, he pointed up, and he's like, don't fear though, there is God up there. And he's a traditional man. You can see like some like raised in a village, but when he said there is God up there, don't fear, that is tapping into this world is more advanced than our failures. And if there is truly intelligence greater than us, it will not let it go to waste. If there is value there, that means if the species goes extinct, what can you do in that moment, right? You're like, man, we didn't deserve it. But imagine if we somehow, I think we still have to go beyond the language threshold here. That's a term I've coined, of experiencing reality beyond a subjective entity, which means reality happens in regards to the presence. But anyways, guys, I gotta end this talk. I should end. Thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. And please understand, religion is far beyond, the behavior of humans. That means let us be graceful before unnecessary disasters are happening. Choose kindness. I hope, my prayer is, like, if I wanted to give a science fiction solution, I would create like this being, invisible being, that would just appear in Earth, right? And in one command, do you know what I mean? Like, or how would I say it? Like, it would play a sound that would be so beautiful that all human beings would awaken to the higher harmonies of reality, for example. Or that there is, just because there's a greater intelligence in you, doesn't mean that greater intelligence is bad. Doesn't mean you're being controlled. It means all of existence is administered. It's administered in regards to how it's programmed, how it's commanded. Anyways, thank you for listening. Rise, mankind, rise towards your most advanced state. Love the human species before ideas dehumanize it. Thank you.